Hello and welcome to this video where I'm going to share my likes and dislikes for the 2022 Osprey Exos 48. If you didn't catch my initial review of this backpack upon taking delivery, click up here or click on the link below in the description. But for now, I'm going to share what I've liked and disliked about this pack after about 3 months of ownership and over 100 miles of walking with it on my wild camps. As you can see, I'm out wild camping at the moment and I'm just about to pack everything back into the rucksack now after a night out on the Exmoor coast. But I know a few of you have been asking how I'm getting on with the pack, what I like about it, what I don't like, and there have been a few sort of technical questions along the way as well. So I'll try and address a few of those and give you an idea of what it's like living with this backpack. To give you a small spoiler, I've got a list of 10 things that I really like about this pack, and then I've got 2 things that I'm trying to call negatives, and then I've got 2 further things that really are just me clutching at straws. I really like this pack, but let's look at the definitive list of my 10 pros. Pro number 1 is that this is really lightweight for a 48 litre backpack. It's around about 1 kilo lighter than the Osprey Atmos 65 litre backpack that it's replacing for the warmer months. After my first outing, I did actually wonder if I'd bought too big a pack. I wondered if I could have got away with the 38 litre rather than 48, because I seem to have acres of space left at the top of it. But looking at the 38 litre version of this pack, you don't even save 50 grams. So for the sake of 50 grams, I might as well have another 10 litres of capacity. Pro number 2 is that I find this a really comfortable pack to wear. The straps are a bit narrower than my Atmos 65 litre pack, and everything feels lighter weight, it's less padded. Nonetheless, I find this really comfortable to wear. I don't have any issues when I'm out hiking, and I generally use this loaded up to between 8 and 15 kilos. On this trip, my pack weight is about 15 kilos, but even so, the shoulder straps are perfectly comfortable, and I've had no issues on any of my walks. Pro number 3 is the quality of the materials. As you'd expect really from an Osprey pack, the materials all feel really durable. I've heard that the Osprey Levity pack can feel a little bit, flimsy is not the word, but it feels very thin because it's an ultra lightweight pack. This is not ultra lightweight, and the materials do feel like they're going to last a long time. Pro number 4 is this great big stretch pocket on the front. You can access it from the top. It's got an adjustable strap at the top as well, so you can reach all the way in. There's my little mini GoPro tripod in there, but I normally fit my GoPro carry case in the front there, and you can get a can or 2 of beer either side as well, and then just tighten it up again with that strap. It's just really accessible, so if you want to gain access to anything while you're on the walk, just pop your bag off and you can get straight into this pouch. Pro number 5, funnily enough, is the capacity of the lid. I find I can get loads in here. We all have our own packing systems, but for me, I end up having all of my food in the very top of the lid, which has its own access zip over here, so you can break straight in and reach out your mini cheddars. And then on the inside of the hood, there's this handy mesh pocket as well, and you can fit absolutely loads in there as well, and that's got its own zip. And not only can you store loads of stuff in there, of course the lid is also completely detachable, so you can take the lid off, save a bit of weight and volume, and then there's a flap lid down inside the pack that can then secure onto the front of the backpack as usual. Pro number 6, which maybe should have been pro number 1, is the hip belt pockets, because of course they came back on the 2022 model. I made a really big deal of these in my initial review video, and they are still a really good perk of the 2022 model. Of course, famously, the Exos always used to have pockets on the hip belt, but Osprey took them away for a while, and now they're back, and they are the main reason I bought this pack. I've got fully used to having hip belt pockets on my Atmos pack, so I couldn't really live without these. I keep everything that I need ready access to in these pockets. The main thing really when I'm walking is snacks, so I'll make sure I've got some nice high energy bars in there. I've also got some tent pegs in there I use for securing my tripod, things like that. Somebody asked if they could fit their iPhone in these pockets. Well, I did have a quick measure up, and I can show you now that my Galaxy S21 goes straight in there and the pocket closes afterwards. So hopefully that's of use to you to see it in action. Pro number 7 for me is these stow on the go walking pole loops. I don't use walking poles, I know a lot of people do, so I think these could be really useful for a lot of people. For me, I use them to secure my tripod. So again, when I'm out filming, I can just reach over here, take the tripod out and set up, and then stow it straight back in there, and it's no hassle at all. I understand that's a bit of a personal one, but anyone else who's into photography, YouTubing, whatever it may be, these 2 loops are really useful. Pro number 8 is just how breathable this pack is when you're wearing it. So there's a nice big mesh section all the way from the bottom to the top, and that leaves a nice big air gap between your back and the pack itself. So the air is free to pass through this gap between the two, and it stops you back from getting too hot and sweaty when you're out walking. It's easy to underestimate just how effective this is, but as soon as you switch to a frameless pack that doesn't have a mesh panel like this, you soon realise just how hot your back gets when the rucksack's flat against your back and the air can't move between to keep you cool. Pro number 9 is a bit of a quirky one, and it's something I noticed when this pack was delivered fresh to my house, and it's just how neat all the straps are. I do quite like things to be neat, so maybe it's more for particular people like me, but I just find that all these straps, because they have various little loops and things, they can be tucked away and kept nice and neat, and it just means that you're not always aware of that noise of the straps flapping around, and it just makes it feel like everything's packed away a bit more neatly. And pro number 10, just because I had to make it up to 10 really, is the colour. I really like the colour of this bag. It's just a bit more interesting than the sort of greys and blacks that you tend to see around. Funnily enough, I seem to have loads of blue stuff, so every now and then I do look like I'm trying to live the life of an Avatar character, but I just really like how bright and colourful it is, and that rounds out my 10 pros for this pack. And now we move on to the negatives, the cons for this pack. So like I say, I'm clutching at straws a little bit here, but the first one I'm going to mention is that there's no way of securing the loose straps on the hip belt once you've tightened it up. So once you clip them together and tension them, you end up with these loose lengths of strap, and they can just hang down and they'll flap against you while you walk. What I tend to do is just wrap them in over the top, and then they tuck in there and keep out of the way. It wouldn't have taken much for Osprey just to fit each hip belt with a little elasticated loop to allow you to tuck those loose ends away. So I think all I'll do is get a couple of hair bubbles, and then I can keep these nice and neat and tidy. Con number 2 is something I've had a few comments on in the original review video I did on this backpack, and it's these side compression straps. People ask if they're easy to use and do they get in the way of the side pockets themselves. And to an extent, yes, they do get in the way, because what you have is one length of strapping that goes all the way down the bag. You have an adjusting buckle down at the bottom and one all the way up here at the top. So you can't actually independently tension the top half and the bottom half. So what does that mean? Well, if I tighten up these 2 ends, you'll notice a few things. Firstly, when you tension at the bottom here, it's actually moving the hip belt pocket around. I don't really understand why tensioning your side compression strap should affect the hip belt and the pocket, so that's a little bit weird in itself. You'll also notice that, of course, we're tensioning this strap all the way up the bag. So yes, it does the job of compressing your bag and keeping everything nice and snug so it doesn't move around while you're walking. But what it also does is it pulls in on anything that's in your side pocket. So if I want to take anything out of this side pocket, you end up fighting with the strap a bit, and the strap tends to sit over whatever you're trying to take out. So you have to, fight your way past the straps. This isn't a great example because all I've got in here at the moment is my camping quilt, so the bag's not fully packed. But when it is packed and this strap is tight, you've got the strap compressing in, preventing you from withdrawing the bottle, but also the strap over the top means that you can end up getting things snagged up on it. And it's a minor nuisance. It's honestly not the end of the world. It doesn't put me off using this pack, and I don't regret buying it for that reason. But some people asked, and yes, I would put that down as a minor niggle. So now I'm on to my two last negative points, and I'm really trying to put myself in other people's shoes here because these don't affect me, these 2 points, but I know they might affect some people. So con number 3 is that there's no zipped access pocket at the bottom. From the comments on my original video, I can tell that a lot of people really like having a lower compartment in their bag. I think some people keep their sleeping bags in there maybe. Personally, I used to keep my tent pegs in the bottom, but now I just keep them in the lid. So yeah, there's no zipped compartment down there for easy access. And my very last con, number 4, is creaking. So a few people have commented on this as well in my original video. They commented on Osprey packs creaking, and they also talked about this ladder system being an issue. So you can adjust how the pack fits you with this ladder system at the back. You can move the adjuster up and down into different positions. Some people have asked if I've found that this leaps out and comes disconnected because they've heard about problems with it. I haven't had any issues with this system whatsoever, and like I say, I've had 15 kilos in this pack and I've done over 100 miles with it. What I can say is that I have heard some creaking sounds coming from this pack while I'm walking. As far as I'm concerned, that's just part of backpacking. There's a lot of tension going on here. Of course, you've got quite a bit of weight. You've got straps passing through plastic buckles so they can kind of creak and squeak as you move. And there's also a metal frame on this pack that's held under quite a bit of tension with material pulled tight around it as well. So I think where some of the creaking comes from is down at the bottom where you've got the material wrapped around the metal frame, and that just sort of rotates and moves over the frame slightly when you're walking. Like I say, I just expect that when I'm walking, but I think it's something that some people don't want to hear. That's really a personal preference thing. So if you absolutely cannot tolerate any creaking sounds from your pack, maybe you need to look at frameless packs, or maybe there are quieter framed packs out there. I'm not really too sure because I've only really used my 2 Osprey packs and then a cheaper frameless pack that's probably not worth bringing into this review. I'll see if I can make it creak for you now. So there are some creaking sounds going on there, and that's pretty much what I hear on walks. Sometimes, it's not all the time. I don't know if it changes with gradient or whether weight shifted in my pack or maybe whether I'm standing more upright, but that's as loud as it gets, so make your own judgments based on that. And that brings me to the end of my list of pros and cons for the 2022 Osprey Exos 48 backpack. I hope it's been useful for you. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments section below, and it's time for me to get packed up and move out. Thanks for watching.